We will begin with the investors wanting a reevaluation of the assets of Consolidation Coal Company and how Judge Colemen would rule about doing a reevaluation, as well as he will come down about a final decision about the case. Then we will get into how all of this affects those living in the mining camps of eastern Kentucky today. All aboard the Kentucky Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. Investors want a reevaluation. The investors' main argument in the bankruptcy case was that the numbers could not be supported, even though they had been compiled by competent, independent sources of their day. Because their figures were highly trusted, there had not been a recent appraisal of the property of Consolidation Coal Company and Elk Horn Coal Corporation. The court considered this and instructed the investors that the cost of procuring another appraisal would cost the company undue hardship, and this was an unjustified waste of money. That the court had confidence that no figures were hidden by Consolidation Coal Company officials, and so there was no reason to question their integrity. The court was also convinced that the assets that were owned by the company was equipment needed to produce a profit. But these pieces of equipment could not be moved to another industry and be productive. Therefore, the earning capability of the company depended on its assets and was not otherwise significant. So the reevaluation of all the equipment would be useless to this case. So, for the purpose of this case, Judge Colemen ruled that a value of $33 million would be sufficient value for all of the mining equipment that the company owned. Who had the greater rights? Another bone of contention in this case was who had the greater rights to keep the stocks and bonds. The common stockholders felt that they should have the greater consideration in the case and therefore should be afforded more rights than the bondholders. However, Judge Colemen was having none of it. Taking into consideration the funded debt and interest, which were now in arrears, the collateral notes, and the preferred stock, which was also now in arrears, the company was in debt for a grand total of $46 million. I know that a lot of us have now crossed our eyes at the stockholders in this case and are wondering, why on earth are they forcing this case? Are you ready? I wasn't. The answer is who was owning 50% of the common stock? None other than J.D. Rockefeller. It seems that he was the one that was pushing the issue. Rockefeller was pushing the idea that the common stock was now virtually worthless by this new plan and must be discounted. But there was nothing that showed that this was improper or sinister in the motives. Therefore, Rockefeller was saying that the common stock owners were worthy of recognition with the understanding and consideration that the wealth or influence of the common stockholders should not be part of the decision of the court. The second objection concerned the bondholders and their objection to the proposed plan. However, the court was not about to disturb the amounts that had been diligently planned out for the good of the Consolidation Coal Company's benefit. The court also ruled that the company could be maintained if a smaller, not larger lien was placed against its assets. We understand that there was a lot of facts and figures, but this is all important to know when it comes to why things played out as they did in the late 1930s in the Consolidation Coal Company camps. Why all of its buildings, stores, and houses were eventually sold to the people living in those areas. Who had control of Consol? Under the new plan, without objection, the company would now be under new management. Here is how I understand this to work. There would be 5 trustees in charge of the company. Each trustee would be chosen from various interests that had been addressed. Only one trustee was allowed to sit on the board from the old company. Each one had to be of upstanding character and competent to guide the affairs of the new company. These trustees would give up the control of the company after serving 5 years. No trustee had more power than the other 4. This was done because of the extravagance and out of control spending from the last administration of the company. Basically, the company expanded too fast for the economy. As stated by Justia, quote, but this expansion, unfortunately, was followed by overcapitalization, mismanagement, exorbitant salaries, and wasting of companies' assets in various other ways, unquote. The court will then go on to state that all of this was unnecessary if they had only curbed their wayward spending. But the company was now having to pay court and attorney fees that it could have avoided. And with that, Judge Colemen finished the case. Letcher County Coal Mines. The Mountain Eagle in Whitesburg, Kentucky, ran a short article in their The Way We Were section in the June 26, 2013 edition. This is what it says. Quote, the Hemp Hill mine was in Elk Horn number 3 seam, which had an average thickness there of 48 inches. In a 1937 report, the company said that in 1936, Hemp Hill miners used 5 cutting machines, 9 electric locomotives, and 237 mine cars to produce an average of 850 tons of coal per day for processing at a wooden tipple there. In 1937, the same year, Elk Horn Coal Corporation filed for bankruptcy. The Hemp Hill Coal Camp consisted of 147 houses and 2 stores the company had built there to serve the miners. Unquote. So, did the Elk Horn Coal Corporation really file for the bankruptcy? Well, yes and no. It was the main company, Consolidation Coal Company, that filed the actual case. However, Elk Horn Coal Corporation was a shell. Think of it as a small company inside of a larger company. But for some reason, Judge Colemen did not rule in this case, recognizing this fact. The sell off of property begins. After the dust had settled in the bankruptcy case, Consol and Elk Horn Coal Corporation began selling off their physical properties. Each mining family was offered the chance to buy their homes for around $600 apiece. The families could make payments at their local Consol or Elk Horn Coal Corporation offices. This was the home only, not the land. The land that the house was sitting on was leased for 100 years. It was thought that the houses would not last that long into the future. Also, around this same time, Consol would start selling off the stores and other buildings. Again, with the same deal about the land being leased, not owned, by the building owner. Now, we understand that this revelation is about to cause a lot of trouble in all the land in eastern Kentucky that is still belonging to Elk Horn Land Management. And we got our first clue to this situation when the city of Whitesburg sold the land that the Food City and Mountain Comp sat on. And the railroad came in and notified the people who owned the buildings and houses on that land that they had built on that the railroad had the right of way. All we could say about this is, guys, this right here is the reason why you need to learn history so that you are not blindsided later on. Even the main cities such as Jenkins, Mayking, Millstone, Fleming, McRoberts, etc. should check their deeds. Now, we don't want to cause a panic here, but people need to read their deeds if you live in a coal camp town. Is the land yours or is it leased? And if it is leased, when does the lease expire? There are places, believe it or not, in the counties that are not a part of this issue. But we are still encouraging everyone to check it out to make sure that you are okay. Now, this is not our first go around with trouble in Letcher County, and we do fully expect to have torches and pitchforks to be aimed at us over this. However, it is far better to find out about it now rather than unexpectedly with a letter stating that the lease for the land that your home is sitting on has now or will soon expire. In next week's video, we will once again get into the time machine and fast forward through time into the 1940s and 50s. We will see how Consolidation Coal Company will once again boom and bust. Thank you. Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the scandals of the Consolidation Coal Company. Please don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.